This is Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily with Andrew Hustler Paterson and Michael Remis.
Hey, what's going on, everyone? What's going on, chat? Welcome to today's edition of Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. I'm your host, Michael Remis, in here for Hustler, who's in Nashville, or is on his way home from Nashville. How's everyone doing? So pumped to be here in the host chair as we're counting down here to Jets Stars, looking ahead to the Frozen Four. We're going to talk about the NHL playoff picture and, of course, going to weigh in on the Arizona Coyotes, which seem like they are on their way to Salt Lake City. Just a second, Connor Hrabchak is going to join me. Also, a couple guests, Gavin Spittle in Dallas. He's with the Spits and Suds podcast. I did go on his show, on his podcast yesterday, talking Jets. We're going to get the Stars perspective. Scott Billeck of the Winnipeg Sun, and really pumped to be joined by former NHLer Kevin Westgarth on the Frozen Four and his NCAA experience with Princeton. Shout out to our sponsors for making this happen. Without them, I probably wouldn't be here. Consolidated Supply, Manitoba Battery, Canadian Club, Modern Man Barbershop, the Winnipeg Jets, Wallace & Wallace, F Apparel, Princess Auto, Royal Sports, Boston Pizza, Little Brown Jug, Aikens Lake, and Breezy Bend. The Jets 2.0 are in Dallas tonight to take on the Stars as they look to push for home ice in the Western Conference, just two back of Colorado with a game in hand. It's been tough so far for the Jets against Dallas this season. They're 0-3, losing 2-1 on home ice. November 11th at Canada Life Center, they lost 2-0 on November 28th, also at home. And then a real bad loss, 4-1 in Dallas on February 29. Dallas really owned the Jets in their last 11 games. The Jets are 2-8-1 against Dallas. A couple lineup changes for tonight. The Jets line, Connor Hrabchak has been reunited. Nikolai Ehlers back to line 2 with Sean Monahan and Tyler Toffoli. Cole Perfetti, take a seat. Healthy scratch. David Gustafsson, he's in on the third line with Adam Lowry and Mason Appleton. The fourth line continues. Can I call them the bingo line? Because two of these guys have played line bingo, playing on every line. That's Nemestikov and Alex Iafallo with Morgan Barron. Anyways, before we get more into Jets 2.0, we're going to spend a lot of time here with Connor and Scott, but I can't look away right now from the top story in the league. That is the Jets 1.0 franchise. Look, relocation can be fun to discuss for fans. The idea of a new team in the league, it's exciting. A new city to go to on a road trip. The owner tweeting out, hey, what's the new name? We can all speculate on the name and the colors, or fantasizing with possible trades or even divisional realignment. However, we got to acknowledge here, while the idea of a new team may be fun for some fans, and maybe some fans here in the Winnipeg Sports Talk chat want to shove it in the NHL's face and say, haha, you took our team away, but eventually failed in the new location. I mean, after close to 30 years, but it's a real sad time for the team employees, the players, and the fans. Losing a team sucks. It's definitely not fun. I think everyone in our chat, if you're old enough, remembers the pain they felt when Jets 1.0 left. For the employees, you basically found out that you may not have a job next week when the season ends. And for the players and their families, they have to uproot their life to a brand new location. So as much as there's fun parts to be a fan or a journalist about, I do have to acknowledge it is a very sad time for many, and I don't want to dance on the grave of the Arizona Coyotes. I did take some time yesterday to listen to the PHNX YouTube channel. They had a great podcast with Frank Cervalli and Elliot Friedman, with Craig Morgan, who had been on the old station many times. It was pretty emotional, and you feel sad for the fans who've stuck by their team and been jerked around here for a long time. But how could this happen so suddenly? I mean, we all saw the Coyotes Twitter account putting out that committed to the desert, check out our new building. But it seems like, according to insider reports, talks have been going on with Ryan Smith in Utah, the NHL, and Coyotes owner Alex Morello for some time. Uncertainty and instability with the building and ownership has been a theme of the Coyotes' entire existence in the desert. They were in Scottsdale. That wasn't feasible. They moved to Glendale, where the fans were not. They got kicked out of Glendale for a number of reasons and ended up in a college arena playing to 5,000 fans. This was supposed to be for 3, maybe 4 years, and we're now wrapping up year 2 of that arrangement. A key moment was last season when there was a vote to build a new arena in Tempe, and the voters said no. The last gasp effort was supposed to be this June at the end of the month, where Coyotes were to bid on a piece of land up for auction. And, last week, the mayor of Scottsdale said that this plan was not feasible. And the NHL at meetings earlier this year, Bill Daly said the NHL planned to play another season in Arizona at Mullet Arena. However, the news dropped yesterday by Frank Seravalli, Elliot Friedman, Greg Wyshynski, and credit to John Gambadoro in Arizona, who's actually first on that last week, that the Arizona Coyotes more likely than not will be moving to Salt Lake City for next season. And I think what happened here is the NHL saw the plan and said, look, hey, let's say they do win the auction and they do build the arena and all the infrastructure around it and everything goes according to plan, which is never a certainty with construction projects. The Coyotes might be in their new arena in 2027, meaning that another 3, maybe 4 years in Mullet Arena. And, you had NHLPA leader Marty Walsh calling out the Coyotes saying, what are we doing here? How much revenue has the NHL lost by not moving the Coyotes, earlier? And look, I don't blame the fans. I blame the ownership. They weren't able to deliver a building and were given chance after chance by the NHL. And the NHL has finally said enough. So the NHL will buy the Coyotes for $1 billion, as per reports from NHL insiders Seravalli, Greg Wyshynski, and they'll sell it to Ryan Smith in Utah for 1.3 or 1.2 billion. And the owners will take the difference as a relocation fee. The NHL, I think, has a ready partner here in Ryan Smith, who's so enthusiastic about bringing the highest level of pro hockey to Salt Lake City. Which, from what I've read now, Salt Lake City, hey, it's the fastest growing city in the U.S. There's a lot of tech money there, a lot of sponsorship money. I'm very interested to see how this all is going to play out. We saw the Coyotes play last night, winning against Vancouver, but the players, none of them being made available to the media. Seeing a number of insider reports. I'm refreshing my Twitter/X feed nonstop. Very interesting time in the NHL. But, this does have a local tie, and you're probably like, why am I spending, the first 10 minutes here of Winnipeg Sports Talk talking about the Coyotes? But there's a tie-in from, Winnipeg. For a Winnipeg perspective, the Jets' 1.0 history remained in Arizona since the move in 1996, with Arizona having names like Solani and Hrabchak at the top of their single-season record leaders and career leaders. This is standard protocol in the NHL. Team moves, they get the records. And so it got kind of confusing, I think, when the Winnipeg returned as the Jets, and the Jets got all of Atlanta's records. Now, Ilya Kovalchuk became a Winnipeg legend. So when you're watching TV, I think it gets confusing. You watch a Coyotes broadcast, anytime they mention any records, it's going to be all Winnipeg players. And you're like, hey, isn't there a team in Winnipeg? That doesn't make sense if you're maybe not familiar with the league history. And whenever anything happened to the Winnipeg Jets, you have to advent and reference Atlanta. This has continued on and on. It's becoming very confusing, especially if you play Puck Doku and you can't use a Winnipeg Jets 1.0 player on the Winnipeg Jets 2.0 logo. It has to be on the Coyotes logo. And it does seem strange. There's a Hrabchak statue in Winnipeg, banners of Jets 1.0 players in the rafters, but none of those names in the history books of a team that is currently called the Winnipeg Jets. So it has been reported, I think saw John Gambadoro in Arizona and Frank Seravalli mentioning that there might be a clause in the sale contract that Alex Morello would have rights to a possible expansion franchise in Arizona, and he would retain the Coyotes logo and history if he can get a new building within 5 years. Does that mean that for what the Jets 1.0 records would remain property of a possible Arizona expansion franchise, and Winnipeg Jets would be here and not be able to properly honor the city's hockey history and would have to keep acknowledging Ilya Kovalchuk as an all-time great. Enough of this charade. Mark Chipman, he's a big part of the Board of Governors group. I wonder if he's got some influence there. If this sale does go through, look, I don't know if the Jets, Coyotes records will be transferred to Salt Lake, but I hope the NHL comes to its senses, ends the madness, and gives Winnipeg back their city's records. Other leagues, they figured this out. The NFL gave the expansion Browns the history of the original Browns. The NBA expansion Bobcats, once they were renamed the Hornets, they got their city's history back. And the Moose acknowledge Moose 1.0 and 2.0. Enough of the confusion and silliness. It's time. Do the right thing and let Winnipeg honor their city's hockey history in the record book. And of course, this is an afterthought in terms of a $1 billion sale. But hey, this is Winnipeg Sports Talk. I'm bringing up topics that are relevant to the city. After all that, Connor, here, let me unmute you. Oh, Connor, how's it going? After I just talked for, I don't know, 15 minutes. What's going on? How is it going?
Hey, I was glad to have a front row seat to watch it. I can't believe you didn't say finish the story once in all of that. Finish the story, bring the records home.
It's getting overdone. Finish the story, but it is a popular meme now, brought on by Cody Rhodes and WWE and all of the Cody crybabies. So he finished the story at WrestleMania. Maybe we can finish the story on the Jets relocation. Looks like the NHL is going to finish the story on the future of the Arizona Coyotes shortly. But we do have a game tonight, Connor. Jets, Stars. Before we get into our guest, Connor, I mean, thoughts on the Jets' last game? A big overtime win, right, against Nashville Predators.
Big win. Should they have won? Probably not. Connor Hrabchak was fantastic. Rick Bowness said after the game, player of the game, there's no win without him. He was outstanding. And it's hard to disagree because Connor Hrabchak, 45 saves, a lot of them high danger of the high danger variety, big and boring, making the saves look easy. Not a lot of saves that are going to pop up on highlight reels, but he made 45 saves. That's what Connor Hrabchak does. And the overtime winner, Scheifele to Connor, really nice play. And looks like those two are going to be back together at 5-on-5 tonight, which I'm sure we'll get into in a second here. But yeah, a game where Nashville was all over the Jets for the back 40 minutes. And Connor Hrabchak stood in his head. And that's why you have the best goalie in the league. He's going to steal you some games. And that was one of them to give the Jets their fourth straight win. They're 2-0 on the road trip. And the difficulty is going to ratchet up here with Dallas and Colorado coming up.
Yeah, I mentioned the Jets' record against Dallas this season, not very good, no. Connor. But the Jets making some line changes tonight leaves Connor, Scheifele, Velarde back as line 1, Ehlers, Monahan, Toffoli line 2, Gustafsson, Lowry, Appleton 3, Barron, Nemestikov, Iafallo, Perfetti, Scratch, Morrissey, DeMello, Dylan Pionk, and Stanley gets another look with Dylan Samberg. What do you make of the Jets' line so far?
Well, I disagree with the Connor, Scheifele, Velarde trio. There's a lot of stats, and maybe you and I can get into it after I do the rundown here. But clearly, Logan Stanley has won the job or is winning the job. You are playing against Dallas. This is as much of a playoff dress rehearsal as you're going to get with 4 games left in the season, with Colorado coming up on Saturday as well. And Logan Stanley's in the lineup. So it's clear that the coaching staff thinks that he's the leader for that 6th/5th spot in that third pairing. And then David Gustafsson is coming in on that third line. I'm really interested to see how that looks because Adam Lowry's been such a force this year with Niederreiter and Appleton. How much of a drop-off is it going from Tyler Toffoli on his wing to David Gustafsson? And it's his first game in a while. I believe it's his birthday too today. The Jets Twitter account posted. So he's in the lineup. And Stanley Brossoit gets the start. So I believe after today, he'll need 2 more appearances to get on the Jennings Trophy if the Jets do end up finishing with the lowest goals against in the league. But obviously the story is the top line there. And we'll get into that in a second here.
Yeah, I mean, they've been kind of jerking around here, the top 6 for the last bit. They went with Ehlers, Scheifele, Velarde, with Perfetti on the second line. Perfetti had the breakout game, but you kind of knew it wasn't inevitable. They keep trying to jam in this line, Connor, even though, they didn't look great, during that 6-game losing streak. They weren't scoring, and they were giving up a lot of goals. Why, if you're watching, if you wanted to tell the Winnipeg Jets why these guys are not a great fit, did you have any numbers that you brought to the table that would explain that? Oh, you got a big, what is that, loose leaf? What is that, loose leaf or printed page?
Did I bring numbers? I brought numbers. So yeah, you bring up the fact that at a glance, like these players were together for the 6-game losing streak. Maybe it wasn't Velarde on the wing, but it was Connor, Scheifele, and Iafallo, Nemestikov, Velarde for the last couple. They struggled. They switched it to Ehlers, Scheifele, Velarde, save for 2 bad periods against the Predators. They're on a 4-game winning streak. That's just the very basic 6-game losing streak, 4-game winning streak coming off of the line changes. But for Connor, Scheifele, Velarde, there's a lot to get to here. In terms of just goals, not even looking at analytics, just goals, they've been outscored at 9-12 this year in 150 minutes at 5-on-5. That's 13th worst in the NHL of lines that have played at least 150 minutes. Not good. When you look at the expected goals, so what they're expected to get scored on, 33.5% of the expected goal shares in their favor. That's second worst in the NHL with forward lines with at least 150 minutes played. I believe behind the Islanders' third line of Pajot, Gauthier, and someone else. This is a top line of a team that's supposed to be a contender in the West, and you're second worst in the NHL of all lines across the NHL. I believe third was Foligno, Bedard, Kurashev. The Blackhawks are the worst team, whatever. Anyways, in terms of Corsi percentage, which is shot attempts, 41.9%, which is 4th worst in the entire NHL with forward lines who have played at least 150 minutes. All this to say, this combination has not worked this season. They were together when the Jets lost 6 straight games, and they didn't work then. You put them together for the third period against the Predators, and they get scored on. And then Scheifele and Connor in 3-on-3 overtime, something that isn't a thing in the Stanley Cup playoffs. They are incredibly offensively talented, gifted players. They make a great play on a 2-on-1 and you win the game. In my opinion, I don't think that warrants them coming into tonight's game together at 5-on-5, given the struggles we've seen and all of the numbers that I presented. And yeah, look at that. Look at all the forward line combinations the Jets have had together this year. Those are real goals, no analytics, real goals, and they are by far the worst. And that's your top line going against Dallas, who's the best team in the NHL. I don't know.
Well done, Connor. Yeah, I'm just looking at all the Jets line combinations here that have played 100 minutes together and goals against per 60 minutes. The Connor, Scheifele, Velarde line allows the most goals by far of any combination they have. They also score a lot too, but not enough to make up the difference. As you mentioned, 9 goals for that line and 12 again. So I'm interested to see how it plays out tonight. Will they stay together? Will there be a switch? It seems like they've just been wanting to jam this line into their team like a square peg into a round hole. It didn't work out during that losing streak. Now they do score goals eventually, but the trend over 150 minutes this season is they're getting outshot, they're getting outscored, and you have other combinations that are doing the opposite. So we'll see how that plays out. We do hear from Rick Bowness. Ken Wiebe, shout out to Ken. He is there in Dallas American Airlines Arena, and he asked Rick Bowness about some of the changes here. He asked Rick Bowness about David Gustafsson going in and the other changes there.
Well, this team we're playing tonight is playing the best hockey they've played all year. They're very explosive. They have 3 lines that are scoring on a regular basis. So we've got and I didn't like our last game in terms of giving up 17 scoring chances. So he'll go on left wing with Adam and Apple, and we'll try to tighten things up a little bit. But the flip side to that is the line of Ehlers, Monahan, and Toffoli before Tyler got sick. They were scoring a goal every game. So I wanted to put them back together. So you move Tyler out of there and you put him back there. and you end up, okay, we got to make sure that Lau's line is given the right personnel to play their role. And so Gus was the best fit.
And it's also Gus's birthday. We're also looking at the birthday narrative for David Gustafsson. Of course, Rick Bowness asked by Ken, what does he want to see from the reunited top line?
Put them back together. They got to tighten it up a little bit. We split them up because they're spending a little bit too much time in our zone. But again, if we want to get some continuity with their offense and some lines, and they play together a lot, and we've got to get them going. It's as simple as that. But again, the Ehlers Monahan to Foley line, when they played together before Tyler got sick, they were scoring every game. So we got to get a little more balance up front in those top two lines.
Want to see a little more balance from the top two lines. Rick Bowness continued. Ken asking, and shout out to WinnipegJets.com for the video, if there's any frustration trying to figure out your top six this late in the season.
But again, it's the circumstances. We were set for a while. And then, Tyler got sick, and we had some guys injured. Gabe got hurt and everything. We haven't been able to get it going, but you're right. But listen, we've got 102 points so far. So let's not lose sight of that. We've had a really good regular season up until now, and we're not finished. So we're still pushing for home ice in that first round. But let's not forget that where we are, we've had a great year, and we have. And but now, okay, we need to get some continuity out of those top two lines for sure. But the third and fourth lines are just as important. You see how well that fourth line is played. They got another big goal for us last game. So it's not just the top two lines. It's trying to get forward continuity with the four lines.
And one more from Rick Bowness, Dylan Samberg. He'll be on the third defense pairing with Logan Stanley. Ken asked Dylan Samberg and then asked him again about David Gustafsson. Here's one more from Rick.
It's been good. Dylan's been a really important part of the penalty kill all year, and it's tough to get over there. But he's handled it really well so far, and Logan's much better on the left than he is on the right. So it's a matter of, okay, we got to try this and see if we can make it work. And so far, it's been good.
Speaking of waiting your turn, I mean, David Gustafsson, what have you seen from the last couple of weeks from him in terms of his ability to try to stay ready for when his number was called here?
Listen, the coach has done a great job pushing all those guys hard, and they're ready to go. You keep telling them, you got to be ready when your name's called. It's as simple as that. We can't tell you when you're going to play, but when your name is called, you better be ready to go. And David's been working very hard. And the games that he did play recently, he's been good. He's been very effective on the forecheck. He's been very reliable defensively, and that's what we need him to be tonight.
Why was this?
There he is, Rick Bowness from Dallas. Jets and Stars tonight in Dallas. And do want to give a heads up if you are here. Shout out to 418 people in chat. What's going on? And everyone listening on podcast. If you're here right now on YouTube, hit the thumbs up. Subscribe to our channel. We're closing in on a big milestone, I think, on subscribers. I mean, every new additional one is a new milestone, a new record high. But we're closing in on 11,300. So anything you can do to engage with our content, thumbs up, subscribing, watching after, and commenting, that helps. And if you're on the podcast, please rate and review on Apple. Helps us get shown to more people on there. I think Spotify might have that now as well. I do want to note also, hey, we're giving away some tickets on our website, winnipegsportstalk.com/contest. AEW tickets for that. That's May 1. Wrestling, it's popular now after a record viewership for WrestleMania, and AEW coming here. And also Moose tickets. Big weekend for the Moose. Fan appreciation on Sunday. And the big mascot throwdown on Saturday. It sounds like every Winnipeg mascot is going to be there. Sea Bear, Mickey Moose, many more. They're giving away a Mickey Moose plush on Saturday too. But we're going to get the inside scoop on the Dallas Stars coming up with Gavin Spittle of the Spits and Suds podcast. But first, here's Huss. All right, I don't have that ready. So, anyways, sorry about that. We'll get right into these ad reads. Hustler, if you're just tuning in, you're like, what am I doing here? Where's Hustler? He's on his way home from Nashville. He had a great time there at the game, and he's coming back. But anyways, here, we'll get back to the ad reads.
Well, spring is just about here, gang, and our friends at Consolidated Supply are ready for a very busy spring and summer and the change of the seasons. You know, the gang at Consolidated Supply are the leaders in irrigation systems, artificial turf, and of course, golf carts in Manitoba is the official club car dealer with incredible new and used options for you in regards to golf carts. They've also got other amazing options for your property, including hot tubs and incredible outdoor kitchens. And of course, they're also the leaders in small engine parts and repair. Consolidated Supply has so much waiting for you. Come on down and see them at their beautiful showroom, open to the public at 1395 Niagara Road East, or find out everything Consolidated Supply can do for you online at cte.ca. Our friends at Manitoba Battery are enjoying the beauty of their new location over on Dovercourt Road. It is officially open, and Donnie and his staff welcome you down at the original location at 1026 Logan, but at the new spot at 452 Dovercourt Drive. And as part of the grand opening celebrations, any battery that's normally $60 or more will save you an extra $10 if you pick it up in store. But of course, you know Manitoba Battery is your local option with the best prices on batteries of all makes, models, shapes, sizes, whatever you need, beating the pants off the big box stores. And of course, they will deliver to you for free any battery purchase inside the perimeter of Winnipeg over $60. It's just that easy. So head on over to manitobabattery.com or pop by and visit the fellas at the new location, 452 Dovercourt Drive, and of course the original spot at 1026 Logan Avenue. Guys, if you need to get a fresh new look as we head into spring, you know where to do that. Get on over to one of the 8 Modern Man barbershops conveniently located throughout the city of Winnipeg, including their 2 newest standalone locations on Pembina Highway or on Plessis Road. Modern Man barbershops offer a variety of grooming services, including haircuts, beard shaping, shaves, color services, and more. The easiest way to make an appointment and book your look is at modernmanbarber.com. Make sure to give them a follow on Instagram as well at Modern Man Barbershops. And we'd also have a huge thank you to the great people at Canadian Club for their continued support of Winnipeg Sports Talk. And of course, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers is the official spirit of the blue and gold. We'll be counting down the days till we're enjoying CC's at the Rum Hut and the Jim Beam Social House and CC's and Gingers at the stands at Princess Auto Stadium. But while we wait for football to return, you'll always get the great taste of Canadian Club and all their amazing products at your local Manitoba liquor marts. Pop by today and check out the Canadian Club display. And remember, always enjoy responsibly.
That's on his way back. He'll be here tomorrow, but we're here counting down to Jets Stars. So pumped to bring in Gavin Spittle with the Spits and Suds podcast. I was on it yesterday talking Jets, but I'm bringing Gavin on to get a nice perspective on the Stars. Gavin, welcome. How's it going? Thanks for coming on.
Man, I think some Jets players are going to go for a nice stroll today, 21 degrees Celsius. So nice day in Dallas-Fort Worth. So great day and a great tilt tonight.
Yeah, we're closing in on playoff weather. Not quite 21 here, but anyway, I asked my smart speaker earlier, and they said it was 11. So I'll go with that. But, I mean, Dallas, Jets, not a lot of success against them. 0-3 this year. They're top in the Central, almost top in the league right now. How would you describe the Stars' season so far, and why have they been so successful?
I think you need to look at line depth. I was actually doing a research project yesterday. The last time team that won the Stanley Cup that had 8, 20 or more goal scorers, and you got to go back pretty far. And I think that's what it is. They run 3 lines deep. And, 8 out of 9 of their top players scored 20 or more goals. So, they're constantly, and when you talk to players from opposite teams and you ask, what is it against the Stars that gives you trouble? And I've heard this numerous times throughout the year, it's they keep coming. So no one here in Dallas even talks about like what is the first line here, because some nights it's Rupe Hintz, Jason Robertson, Pavelski. Some nights the Ben Stankoven and Wyatt Johnston, and then you have Duchesne, Sagan, and Marchment. So, and then you throw out a fourth line that all of a sudden is scoring goals and, you know, doing real well as far as keeping the puck in the offensive zone. You know, the other factor, I think, that when you look at Dallas tonight, if Winnipeg wants an advantage, and you know, if you're looking at the score sheet after the game, look at the face-off percentage, because there are not too many games where Dallas gets beat in the face-off circle. And when you're winning those face-offs equals puck possession. So if Winnipeg can win the face-offs tonight, I think they have a real good shot.
Here in Winnipeg, we're, you know, applauding the number of 10 goal scorers. Seems like every forward there has 10, but in Dallas, seems they've one-upped it. As you said, everyone's got 20. It's pretty wild. And, you know, leading the pack, I don't know how many people would have predicted this heading into the season. Wyatt Johnston, 32 goals, second-year player. I think this guy's on his way to becoming a household name. I mean, he's still playing on the third line there. You know, he's moved up and down occasionally, but how would you describe his game in his sophomore season?
Well, let's start about the luck of the draw. It was a COVID year as far as draft, and Wyatt Johnston did not play hockey or very limited hockey that year. So he dropped down in the first round. In fact, the Stars actually traded down. And so they got Wyatt Johnston in the first round. By the way, got Logan Stankoven that year as well. So this is a situation where the kid has come in from juniors, and from preseason, you just looked at him and you said, there's no way that this kid could go back to juniors. Fought his way on the squad. And the one thing about Wyatt Johnston, we could talk about 30 goals, but I can't count on one hand the crucial mistakes he's made defensively. He's a really, really good defensive player. And one of the comparisons that I found interesting the other day was, is he a Patrice Bergeron in the making? And if that's the case, I think we'll all take it. He's just calm. He's cool. And the thing about this 30-goal season was there was a lot of talk in Dallas. Is he in a sophomore slump? Because Wyatt Johnston didn't have a lot of goals before January 1st. 2024, he's absolutely exploded.
I did pick him up in my fantasy league, so I'm a big fan of Wyatt Johnston. You spent a lot of time on the forwards, but how about the defense? Their big move at the deadline, Chris Tanev acquired from Calgary. How has he fit in with, you know, the forwards got depth, but the defense, I mean, they're pretty strong as well.
I mean, Jim Nill doesn't want to hear from me, but if he did, it would be like, lock this guy up now, because the Stars really, in my opinion, did not have a chance as far as getting through a few rounds, because defensively there were just too many gaps, too many mistakes, too many breakdowns. And, you know, last year going into the finals, Western Conference Finals, I thought they were, you know, physicality really took its toll, where Vegas was a deep forechecking team and really punish the Stars defensemen, and they struggled to get it out of their zone. So you look at the offseason and they didn't really address it. And they do play Nils Lundqvist more. Hakanpää's out with an injury right now. But then all of a sudden at the trade deadline, they make the deal for Chris Tanev. And it's amazing to think that one defenseman can make five others that good. We also have to talk about the development of Thomas Harley, who came on late last year, got a lot of seasoning in the American Hockey League, and came up and just looked like he had been there for years. Another young kid in the Stars organization. So he's been paired with Heiskanen. I think Tanev's been terrific. He's been paired with Esa Lindell. And now all of a sudden, you are dropping down a guy that was your first line pairing last year in Ryan Suter. He's now your third line pairing. And a lot of people criticize Ryan Suter. Is he over the hill, getting close to 40? And the fact of the matter is, as a third line defenseman, he's been really good.
Yeah, I think Ryan Suter, you know, while he was overpaid, he's still a capable NHL player, and that was a nice pickup from Dallas. We've talked about forwards, defense, goaltending. Jay Gottinger, I mean, his career numbers are down this season. I mean, even way down from last year. Last year, .919 save percentage. This year, .903. Last year, .237 goals against. This year, .281. I don't know. I haven't looked if he's going tonight or not, but what's been going on with the Stars goaltending this year?
Yeah, I mean, he was talking after one game because they asked about Chris Tanev, and he says, "Have you seen my goals against and save percentage since Chris Tanev arrived?" And I mean, I think that's the reality is that, let's take Connor Hrabchak, 2 American goaltenders. And, when the defense is better in front of you, I think you play much better. And, I've actually used Connor Hrabchak as an example because a lot of people play Scott Wedgwood, the backup. He's the answer. And it's like, no, you can't. And here's why. When you look at Connor Hrabchak a couple of years ago, there was that season where probably did not have his best season. I personally feel as though Hrabchak's the best in the league right now. And so, good goalies turn it around. And Jake Ottinger right now has found his groove, kind of let up a loose goal the other night. But then you look at the game, they only held Buffalo to 2 goals. So it's one of those things where his positioning is much better. Jake Ottinger is a solid goalie, very much Ben Bishop-like in that the size, the 6'6", 6'7", you're going to be blocking a lot of shots. You're not going to make those Tim Thomas sprawling, or when we had Anton Hudobin here for that cup run. I mean, the guy was just all over the ice, and it's a different style that Jake Ottinger presents, but it's really, really effective. And, this team, you could talk about Tanev, we can talk about the scoring depth as far as the forwards, but this team is going to go places if Jake Ottinger can play well. He's that critical to this Stars team.
Yeah, Dallas, and they're 1 point away from the President's Trophy. Is that something they've even talked about? Is that important to them, or do they believe in the President's Trophy curse?
No, they actually don't. And Pete DeBoer says he doesn't believe in it. And asked about resting some players, he goes, no, full tilt for us. And I think it's a great move. One, they're playing good hockey right now, so why slow that down? You probably will, to understand too, the Stars had just a grind a couple of months ago where it seemed like they were playing every other night, and that limits rest and practice time. So now, for instance, you've had some to rest your players. And like Tyler Seguin took the day off yesterday. After they play Seattle on Saturday, they have a rest all the way until Wednesday when they play the St. Louis Blues to end the season. So I think, they're going to keep going. And I understand the President's Trophy with the New York Rangers. Clearly, you want home ice throughout. But there's also another factor I think they're looking at, and that's the Boston Bruins they're tied with currently. So in case New York gets kicked out, if you finish second, then you have home ice throughout. We're getting ahead of ourselves, but, at the same time, those are fun things to look at.
Yeah, we had our eye on the President's Trophy for a while. The Jets have tailed off a little, and now we're just going for home ice against Colorado here in the first round. Looking at the Jets, 0-3 against Dallas. What's your impressions of the Jets so far from what you've seen this year, and I guess years past as well?
Yeah, I mean, I'm super excited that the Jets are going to be in the playoffs this year. I love Winnipeg as a hockey city. I've always been an advocate for Winnipeg. So, one thing that I was surprised with, and there's a lot of game tape on this that Colorado does and Vegas does, and they play the Stars heavy, but they also forecheck deep. And when you notice Winnipeg, and I think the style gives teams problems, but you can't let the Stars defensemen get their wheels going, and they want to be so quick out of their zone. So if you can clog them, that also slows down their forwards, because now Matt Duchene has to work really hard on the defensive end side of things. So I think, that's one thing. It'll be interesting to see tonight if Winnipeg does a little bit more of a deep forecheck and try to cause some errors from the Stars. And like I said at the beginning of the broadcast, if Winnipeg can win on the dot, I think they're going to be really effective. But I got to say, I've been really, really impressed. From an outsider perspective, I absolutely love what they did before the season. You guys signing Hrabchak, you guys signing Scheifele. I'm a big Brendan Dillon guy with his time in Dallas. I think he brings a presence of physicality that's really good. Kyle Connor's an absolute Dallas Stars killer. Absolutely. And so it's one of those things where it's, Winnipeg is on my radar, but then I look at the whole Western Conference, every single team. No matter what the team 1 through 8, this is going to be an absolute gauntlet to get to the Stanley Cup.
Yeah, you mentioned Kyle. You told this to me. Kyle Connor Stars killer. I think it used to be Patrick Laine when he was here. It seemed like he'd get a hat trick every time. But Kyle Connor, in 24 games against Dallas, 23 points, 10 goals, 13 assists. Maybe that's something to keep an eye on. And you mentioned, I think the playoffs in the West, every team is good. If not Dallas, who else do you have your eye on as we wind down? I mean, is there a team that scares the Stars as we head towards the end of the season?
Yeah, the Stars don't match up well with Vegas. So I'm trying to avoid that in the first round. They're getting healthy, about to get their goalie back. And, it's one of those things where I don't want to face the defending Stanley Cup champions in the first round. But you have to do what you have to do. So they kind of scare me. I'd rather play the LA Kings. Colorado is really, really tough. And I'll tell you, I don't want to play Winnipeg. I mean, I don't want to play any of them, but Winnipeg, I don't want to face Connor Hrabchak in big games. I can't stress this enough. I think he's the best goalie in the NHL. Absolutely love him. And I think you guys have some great parts. So I think it would be a very challenging 7-game series because of the familiarity, not just because they're in the Central Division, but because Bones was our head coach for numerous years. So I think there's some good storylines there as well.
I know Dallas has had the Jets number, but every game has been a lot of games close, heading to overtime. So maybe we'll see another one like that. I know the Jets not happy about their play last game in Dallas at the end of February. Gavin, thank you so much for coming on and taking the time. Want to plug your podcast and where people can find you? I do see some Stars fans here in attendance saying hello.
Oh, that's so cool. Yeah, absolutely. Spits and Suds. I do it with Sean Shapiro, a longtime NHL writer, also Craig Ludwig, who spent 17 years in the NHL, 2-time Cup winner, Montreal and Dallas. So we just have, just like you, we're trying to, build something cool. And, hockey here is so fascinating because maybe there's 17,000 Dallas Stars fans and they all go to the game. So it's one of those things. We're trying to grow the great game and we're trying to open doors as far as, if you have any questions, don't be afraid to ask them. We don't want to talk over anyone's head. And we're just so fortunate it's grown, and like, for instance, I love following Winnipeg Sports Talk because I can get my Jets fix. And I try to follow, different various things from the Central Division. So if you need, I want to learn about the Dallas Stars, hopefully you listen to some Spits and Suds.
Yeah, it's awesome. Check it out here on YouTube or wherever you get a podcast. I was on with Gavin yesterday giving you the Jets point of view, and now you're on today giving us some great insight on the Stars. Gavin, thanks so much. It was great connecting with you again.
Yeah, thanks. Keep up the good work, man. Talk to you soon.
Yeah, you too. There he is, Gavin Spittle. Follow him on X, formerly known as Twitter, at GJ Spittle. We'll talk more with Connor, some hockey Jets stories, and Scott Billeck of the Winnipeg Sun. But before we get to that, let's get to Hustler with some reads.
I want to extend a huge thanks to the great people at Princess Auto for their support of Winnipeg Sports Talk. Of course, Princess Auto, proudly founded right here in Winnipeg and committed to Winnipeg with their headquarters, national headquarters right here. Not only supporting Winnipeg Sports Talk, but all of our local teams, including the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, as they welcome fans to Princess Auto Stadium this year to cheer on the blue and gold down at the U of M. Princess Auto, of course, is the place where you'll find the best deals on the most incredible and unique assortment of tools and equipment around. Everything you need to complete the projects on your list or start something new is at Princess Auto. Pop by and see them in store on Panet Road or Portage Avenue West. And you can always shop online 24/7, 365 at princessauto.com. We also want to thank the folks at Wallace & Wallace. Speaking of getting ready for spring, Wallace & Wallace are the fencing and overhead door specialist. You'll see their fences and trucks all over the city. And for all of your fencing needs, Wallace & Wallace has you covered. What you might not know is that they're also the overhead door specialist in Winnipeg, with the largest selection in Manitoba as the Clopay dealer here in town. They can also help you, though, with your maintenance, with the crazy weather, getting cold, getting warm again. This is the time to prevent downtime going into the new seasons. Give Wallace & Wallace a call to book your maintenance and inspection service call today for residential and commercial overhead door sales and service. There's only one name or two you need to know. That is Wallace & Wallace. And speaking of the change of the seasons, fellas, I think a lot of you may be looking into the closet and realize it might be time to up that menswear game. Well, whether you need a suit for a particular event or just want to upgrade your workwear and more, F Apparel is the spot. Just an incredible selection of custom menswear waiting for you, starting with suits beginning at $400, along with chinos, golf pants, custom shirts, both tucked and untucked styles, and an amazing selection of menswear accessories. If you are getting married or in a wedding party coming up this summer, make sure to talk to the fellas at F about a 15% discount when the entire wedding party gets your suits at F Apparel. They've also got great deals for high school grads as well, so make sure to talk to the guys at F about that. Pop by and see them, 190 Smith Street downtown. You can also find out more online or make an appointment at F. That's EPHapparel.com. And as we look ahead to spring and summer, I am counting down the days to fishing season. And you know, on Winnipeg Sports, when we're talking fishing, we're getting fired up to head back to Aikens Lake Wilderness Lodge. A one-of-a-kind, incredible fly-in fishing experience right here in Manitoba, where you can be on the water in less than 2 hours from the city of Winnipeg. And as incredible as the world-class fishing is that awaits guests at Aikens Lake, the hospitality of the Aikens team and the Terrence family is even better. Head on over to aikenslake.com, find out more about everything available at Aikens coming up, and you can contact them as well about pricing and availability options and booking dates for the 2024 fishing season. aikenslake.com online, and make sure to check them out on all their social channels at Aikens Lake.
There it is. There's us. Thanks to everyone who's hanging around here. Hit the thumbs up, the subscribe button. If you're watching after, leave a comment. Again, tells YouTube, hey, we're putting on some good content. Maybe it'll show it to more people. But let's continue our conversation as I say hi to everyone in chat. Phyllis, it's your boy Bruce, Matt Hyman, Running Man, Luis, Comet, D. Will, Missing Monk, Warren. What's going on, guys? Thanks for hanging out here with us on a Thursday, but I'm still joined by Connor Hrabchak. Connor, great conversation there with Gavin. What do you think of the Stars so far this season as we head into tonight's game?
Game. He's definitely not Connor Hrabchak level, but he's a elite starting goalie when he's on. So I think they're the Cup favorite, and in my opinion, they're the best team in the league right now.
Yeah, sorry, I had a minor mute issue there. I'm doing everything on my own. It was bound to happen. I'm not
All
sure
good.
how that happened, so I didn't get to hear all of your answer there, but I'm just going to try not.
The Stars are really good.
I'm just going to try not to read the chat and pull my hair out right now as I bring in Scott Billeck, the Winnipeg Sun. But real quick, Connor, I think we have a big MVP race, more than we've seen in the past. Kucherov, McDavid, McKinnon. I'm missing one other one. Who's the other guy? Matthews. You talk to Toronto fans, they got Matthews. If you're casting a vote right now on Hart Trophy, who are you picking? Let me know.
Nathan McKinnon is my MVP right now. He might not win the Art Ross. That might be Nikita Kucherov, but I think his ability to carry the Avs, who have had depth issues, goaltending issues, injury issues all season long, carry them to be a 100+ point team. They've been in the hunt for the 1 seed up until they lost to Dallas a few games ago. I just think that is incredibly impressive for him to do that. He's at 51 goals, still going. He's got a big game coming up here against the Jets. That's likely for home ice in that Central Division. But I think the best argument for Kucherov is the fact that he's like 50 points ahead of second place on his team. And then you can get into Matthews, who it's like, well, he's closing in on 70 goals. Connor McDavid's closing in on 100 assists. What's more impressive in that regard? But I think Nathan MacKinnon is just the best all around vote that I would do for the Hart.
Sorry about that. I screwed something up, but I'm trying to get Scott to come in. I screwed it all up. Where are you in here? You're back here. There you are.
All good. All good.
And yeah, Art Ross going down to the wire. I've never seen such a tight race. McDavid, he was sat out last night, so I don't know but Kucherov 139, McKinnon 137, McDavid 130. Who you got? Kucherov v. McKinnon.
I've got Kucherov and the Art Ross. I think the Hart Trophy is a different conversation. Who wins? Who has more points is a different conversation than who's the MVP, obviously. And Nikita Kucherov is just so dynamite on the power play. Like I said, he's got 50-something points more than second place on his own team. And I think that a big reason for that is his ability to make a million types of different passes on that power play. So I think he finishes ahead in the Art Ross, but I don't think that should warrant him being the MVP. And then, we talk about the Rocket Richard's been sewn up for months now because Austin Matthews is so far ahead. And there's a lot of good races here down the stretch, but things like the Rocket Richard, the Vezina Trophy, as we know here in Winnipeg, and the Norris, I'd say with Quinn Hughes, is pretty wrapped up. But there are still some really tight races with the Hart and the Art Ross.
Yeah, a couple tight races and Norris Trophy, although if you ask Canucks fans, Quinn Hughes got that one locked up last night. We'll have to wait and see. But Connor, thanks for hopping. We'll talk at the end of the show. We'll go through the Coolbet lines, but appreciate all your contributions so far.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I'll see you at the end of the show, and we'll roll through the lines here with the Jets and the Stars, see what the line is for that.
Perfect. Thanks again, Connor. And there he is, Connor Hrabchak on X. Connor Hrabchak 1. But now let's move on to our next guest, Scott Billeck, Winnipeg's son. Scott, I finally got it figured out. No more floating heads of you. Podcast listeners won't get to see that as I try to navigate behind the scenes and doing everything here. What's going on, Scotty? How are you?
I think I already made a debut there, introduction. You had me on the screen earlier.
I did.
So, I was like sitting like this, I think. So doing the Michelangelo. I think that's what that one is. I have no idea. I'm terrible at classics and art, but I'm doing all right. Yeah, a little sick, a little under the weather. It just makes my voice sound deeper. So
yeah, sounds good. You're like a real radio guy now with a big, deep voice there.
That's right. I was listening to your Hart Trophy stuff, and I didn't hear Sidney Crosby's name. So
yeah, that was the one who I missed out. I knew there was one that I didn't say, and
honestly,
it's funny.
Yeah, and Remo, like I have no idea, Remo. I'm gonna have to vote on this in a week, and I'm not entirely sure. I mean, McKinnon's up there for sure. I heard Connor talking about it. Kucherov's obviously there. He's kind of got the Taylor Hall argument from about 10 years ago, I think. Well, no, it wasn't even 10 years ago. It was like 2017, I think. So Taylor Hall Kucherov's got the Taylor Hall thing. He's also on pace at this point to win the Rocket. To win the Art Ross. So I don't know, I think for me, if Connor McDavid though gets 100 assists, he'd be just the fourth player. This goes back to my voting last year on the Norris, and you look at the 100-point season by Erik Karlsson, and you're like, well, I mean, that's historical, right? How do you deny a guy an award when he's put up in a historical season? You could make that argument for the goals that Austin Matthews is putting up, but I don't know if Austin Matthews is as important to his team as, let's say, Connor McDavid, who's been on basically a 2-point per game run since they had the coaching switch there. And then it's hard to say that without McKinnon. that they would be where they are. I mean, he's got 51 now, 137 points. I mean, I always have a vote for Connor Hrabchak. I mean, I think he's in there. I think he deserves more than just a fifth place vote too. If you look at the Jets, if you just look at the Nashville game, he saw the most shots, made the most saves he has all season. He was the only reason that the Jets won that game. So yeah, it's a tough vote this year, and probably the closest vote that they'll have in sometime, especially in my time doing it. It's going to be one of the closest votes for the Hart that I think there's probably ever been. Well, at least in a long time, at least in probably since the Taylor Hall vote. And even with the Taylor Hall vote, I think like that season was just sort of bad for a lot of players, and so. Yeah, I don't know. That's going to be a tough one. I think the Norris will be a little tighter than people think, too. I think there's going to be a lot of love for Roman Josi on that ballot as well. I agree. Quinn Hughes is certainly up there, and he had a hell of a game the other night. So there's that, too. But I think there's going to be a lot of love for Roman Josi and what he's been done, how integral he's been to Nashville's sort of success since they made their coaching change. So, yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, very close. It's funny, Kucherov, McKinnon, McDavid, top 3 in points. I got to scroll all the way down to number 19 for Crosby, 86 and 78 games.
Yeah, 19, it's not, again, the Hart isn't a points race. It shouldn't be. It often does seem like that's the way it is. Mm-hmm. But you got to look at who is most integral to their team. I mean, that's basically what the award is. I'm not saying people don't vote that way. It was essentially unanimous last year, besides one vote for McDavid, and he also put up 150 some odd points last year. Like, it was ridiculous.
Yeah,
that's a little different again, right? You don't see that very often. Although Kucherov's got 5 more games left, he might be able to find 11 points to get to 150. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I am curious how it's going to play out. I agree. A lot of worthy candidates, and I think. You have like most valuable to his team. It could mean anything you want. So you could really give it to make an argument for any player. And that's why, these MVP awards are, kind of weird. Not like Art Ross, where it's like, yeah, we know who it is.
Yeah, but it's cut and dry, right?
Yeah. Enough league stuff. People want to hear us talk Jets, big game, Jets, Stars. Do you want to weigh in on your thoughts on the last performance, or are we kind of what needs to be said about it has done, and we've erased the tape and moving on to Dallas?
They survived, right? I mean, they had Connor Hrabchak, and Connor Hrabchak is the great equalizer, right? So not much else to say about that game that probably hasn't been said, but they played awful in that second period. Awful, right? And really, they played awful up until the game-tying goal went in from Ryan O'Reilly there. And then at that point, they tightened up a little bit to get themselves to overtime. But that, I mean, everybody knows that that's not the recipe for this team. They can't. They will get blown out in the playoffs by Colorado, assuming they play Colorado, which seems to be a foregone conclusion at this point. They will get embarrassed in the playoffs if they play like that. Like Nashville, they have some decent shooters or whatever, right? But it's not Rantanen, it's not McKinnon, it's not Cale Makar, it's not. Even Jonathan Drouin's having a heck of a year now that he's with them, and then they have other guys too. Like that is a deep team, Colorado, and they have some problems in net, but their great equalizers all come up front, and even Makar and the guys on defense for them, Devin Taves. So yeah, I don't think the Jets can't show up playing that game against Colorado. They have 2 games now coming up here: Dallas tonight. Colorado on Saturday. I mean, these are going to be games, if they play like they did on Tuesday night, that they are going to get absolutely laughed out of the barn. So they need to figure that out. And it starts tonight because Dallas has owned them this season, right? I mean, I would argue the best game that the Jets played against Dallas was probably the first one. They arguably could have won that if their special teams weren't so poor. So, but the last game they played, I think it was 2-0 shutout to the Stars. That was all Dallas. There was nothing for the Jets there. And that's, I assume that if they could get past Colorado, the Jets are going to have to play Dallas. And Dallas is arguably, in my opinion, the deepest team in the league. not many teams have 30 goal scorers on their third line, but Dallas does, and they're incredibly defensive. And they got Jake Ottinger in goal. So it's a tough test tonight, and they got to play a lot better than they did Tuesday.
Well, what do you do when you have a pretty bad game? You switch up the lines, and that's what Rick Bowness has done tonight. More switching, trying to get this top six going and playing right as we head towards the playoffs. We've gone over it on the program, but they've gone back to Connor Hrabchak, Perfetti out, Gustafsson on the third line with Lowry, Appleton, Toffoli to the second line. All right, if you're the coach, let's put in Coach Scott Billeck. Are these the lines that you're putting together, or how are you going to critique what they think the cure is here for last game's performance?
Yeah, I mean, when I look at it, I'm like, okay, well, they're going back to this. I mean, they're just trying to smash this square peg into a round hole with Connor Scheifele and Vilardi, and not even so much Vilardi as it is like Connor and Scheifele historically. They just don't play well together defensively, right? And nobody denies that those two have incredible offensive talent. And they show flashes of brilliance often, right? Like, I mean, it's there, but if you just look at this season, they've been outshot, outchanced, outscored, out everything this year as a line together, including Vilardi on that. But I listened to Rick Bowness this morning, and I get what he's saying. Like, I get that he needs to find some continuity in his lines. The problem for me is Rick, if that's not going well, is Rick just going to abandon his lines again like he often does, and then try something different? Like, the problem with continuity and Rick Bowness is they just don't really mesh, right? Like, Rick loves to do the line shuffle, and he does it often. He shuffles the deck almost every game, it seems, and it's hard to breed any sort of continuity when you just keep. If you're going to allow a line to get better, you're going to probably have to allow it to struggle at first. But I mean, I understand why he's going back to Ehlers, Monahan, and Toffoli, because if you look at their numbers, and obviously it's a bit of a small sample size, but they've outscored their opposition 7-2 together. And they're really good defensively, mostly because they just play in the offensive zone the most part. Problem with the Connor and Scheifele and Vilardi line, they get like 75% of the offensive zone faceoffs when they're on the ice together. And that, like, you want your top line to be better. Like, your top line shouldn't be getting outscored the way that they are. And that's the problem. But they need to, like, some of this falls on the players too, right? Like, Scheifele and Connor, they just got to figure it out. Like, you want to go far in the playoffs. They need a team. I always go back to the Alex Ovechkin example. Alex Ovechkin, everybody, critiqued him for not playing a defensive game, right? He was always the reason why he never got really Hart Trophy votes and all that stuff. Is because all he was offense, right? When Alex Ovechkin finally figured it out in 2017-18, they won a Stanley Cup. And Ovechkin played a lot of good defense in that playoff run and that season too. And I think Mark Scheifele has it in him. We've seen it. We've seen it at times this year where Mark Scheifele was playing a great two-way game. They need a bit more of that from Kyle Connor. I mean, we've seen some of the mistakes that Connor has made. It's led to goals against. It led to game winners against. It's not just on Rick Bowness for trying this line over and over again. He needs his players to step up and be his top players, right? I mean, in very few teams would you have Mark Scheifele and Kyle Connor on not the top line based on what they can do offensively. But the problem with this team is that they don't play a lot of defense sometimes, and it leads to problems for this team. So, they need those guys to step up, especially in this game, because defensive mishaps against the Dallas Stars are going to cost this team, and they're going to cost it against Colorado on Saturday. So they need to, the players have to step up just as much as the coach has to put them in the right situation. And if Mark and Kyle want to play together, and we know that's been the case over the years, and we know they want to play together, well, then prove it, right? Like, prove that you can do it at the other end of the rink, because we know that they can do it in the offensive zone. If they played a little better in the defensive zone, they'd be fine. right? Like, I mean, I think this team I think that line can outscore their opposition, but they have to be committed defensively. And that's been the struggle, for basically from time immemorial right now, right? Like that's where they're at. So yeah, I mean, I don't have an issue with him trying those lines again, because I think he's been trying to find something that works for the entire season. And I don't know, I don't really know what else to do, because it seems like whether or not Nikolai Ehlers does well on that top line, it just seems that they don't want to do it, right? Like, whether Mark doesn't want to play with Nick, or Bonus just doesn't like some of the giveaways that happen at times. Somebody can't live with that there, and it doesn't happen. So yeah, whatever. It is what it is. We'll see what happens tonight. But I think at some point, those players just need to step up and play. And if they're not going to do that, there's a bigger problem that the Jets are going to have to deal with at some point. But right now, they need to figure it out, because they only got 4 games left until the playoffs.
Yeah, that's right. And he's kind of beat the horse here on that line for the whole show, Scott. So we'll move on to something else.
Sure.
Logan Stanley gets in. He's a big run here for Logan Stanley. He's on the third D pair with Dylan Samberg. It seemed like he was the odd man out for a while, but he's been getting some run. He's also been dropping the gloves a lot. That's 3 fights in his last 5 games. I know you spoke with him for a nice feature in the Winnipeg Sun. How would you characterize Logan Stanley's season so far?
Yeah, it's interesting, right? Because you look at last season, and we went back, and we all remember the report of the trade requests and all that, and it was interesting at the time, because it's like, well, Logan, you haven't really played all year, right? You've been injured all year, and so now you want to get traded. And I think I think with Logan, it was just, there was a lot of frustration, right? And it wasn't just that he wasn't playing or wasn't put into the lineup as soon as he got healthy again. It was, I got injured, then I came back, then I got injured again. And then, there's just a lot of frustration with that. I think he would have been in 24 at the time. It's not coming to him as quickly as he would have liked. And he's already, now he's 25. And you look at this season, and when talking to Logan, it was almost like Logan understood why he wasn't playing early on, right? Like, this team was running with Nate Schmidt, and there was a bit of a whatever, but Dylan Samberg had taken the job. It was that 6th defenseman, and nobody really got injured, right? Like, the defense has been, by and large, healthy all season. The only games that Logan was really getting into was when Brendan Dillon got suspended and that sort of thing, a couple games here and there. For me, Logan proved to himself, and he said it himself, that he earned his chance here, because he would come in and he wouldn't have a bad game, right? Like, he would come in and take advantage of the opportunity, and he's been doing that all season now. And he's got a daughter now. There's been a bit of a kind of perspective change as a new dad, and I think that's one thing that's sort of helped him kind of steady himself. It's been a bit of a theme, as I wrote, and in his life and in his NHL career, where I think he realizes now how difficult it is to make this league. Like, nothing's given to you, but he's earned the right to play more games. His game has been solid. I thought analytically his game has been pretty good. I don't think we've seen those glaring issues with Logan Stanley. He hasn't been out of position very often, and he's being more physical. Like, I think with a guy who's as tall as Logan Stanley is, you would hope that he would be a menace out there, right? He'd be a guy that you are afraid to go into the corner with. He's laid some pretty big hits, and he's thrown some pretty big punches this year. You mentioned his fights, 3 in the last 5 games. That's something that he's going to have to do to stay in this league, right? Like, it's part of his thing. I thought the fight against McCarron was a tough one. He got landed one, right? But I think he's come into the game, and in games, especially during the losing streak, he would get in there and he would try and get some energy going with the team through his fists. And I think we look at fighting sometimes as this this bad thing, but I think, and it is, right? I mean, we know all the CTE stuff and all that, But I think as a team, there's a lot of guys on these teams still, that they do get fired up in a fight. And so, yeah, I mean, I think Logan's done the right. It's not that he's just in there being a goon. He's made some good plays, made some good breakout passes, skated with the puck up the ice. Like, some of the things that he's worked on and that he's gotten better at, he's shown this year, and it hasn't just been 1 or 2 games or whatever. He's shown in several games now that he can sort of handle those kind of third pairing minutes and not be sort of a detriment to the team, that he had maybe in other games, even last year or 2 years ago, I guess, when it was 2 years ago, because he played 19 games last year, 2 years ago, where he played 58 with the team. So yeah, I've enjoyed watching Logan Stanley play, because I think he's just starting to get it, right? I think he's starting to know kind of what he's being asked to do, and just kind of keeping his game a little bit more simple, not trying to be this offensive guy, whatever. And then I think that's helped him. And yeah, it seems like he's got a little more perspective on life, and that's kind of bled into his game as an NHLer.
Yeah, he's really been solid since he's come in, earned his spot in the lineup, and it's almost been weird and different from previous Jets seasons, Scott, where you had years in the past where they were going down the list using like 8, 9, 10 defensemen. I mean, I can just pull up some names from the past year. Remember, they went down to like Brett Festerling one year, Mark Flood got in. I mean, you want to go and throw out some Jets? Who was the other guy? Oh man, I'm trying to remember. There were some other ones.
Paul Postma for a while.
Yeah.
They had.
It was good. Just went down the list.
Yeah,
But
if
anyone wants to throw in chat your favorite, Jets defenseman. I don't know if this was a Puckdoku thing. Jet defenseman on the Winnipeg Jets who played under like 25 games in a season. Someone like that. I'm trying to remember. Oh, there's one guy. I'm trying to remember him. Anyways, no defensemen have got hurt, so they've kind of just been shuffling in on that last spot, whether it's Schmidt, Sandberg, Stanley, and Colin Miller. Game 1 of the playoffs, Stan getting in on defense?
Oh, that's a good question, right? Like, I think he's going to be on me. He's playing Dallas tonight. This is a big test for him, right? I think, I don't know. That's a good question, because I think there's a part of this that they're trying to, make sure Nate Schmidt's sort of kind of rested for the playoffs. I talked to Nate Schmidt for a story I did a while ago about around the trade deadline, and he's a guy that's sort of able to keep all that energy ready for playoff hockey. So it'll be interesting to see. But right now, if you're looking at it, the way that they're playing Logan Stanley, it almost seems like he is the guy that's going to be in there. But we'll see. I mean, these 2 games, I mean, to be fair to the process here with Logan, he hasn't played a lot of, let's say, top teams. So he's going to have to show it over these next 2. I assume he plays, he's playing tonight. I always interesting to see if he does well tonight. He'll play against Colorado. So we'll see what happens there. But right now, I'd lean towards him, being in the lineup on the first night, only because this is what they're playing, and they're getting him games right now. And I think right now, if you're getting guys in games with, I don't think that they're resting Nate Schmidt. Let's just say that, because they've done a lot of that lately. So yeah, I would go with. I'd probably put Logan Stanley in there on first game, but I think I want to see the next 2 games if he plays both of them, to see how he plays against top opposition. And including the 2 teams that you'll likely face in rounds 1 and 2 probably, if you have to. So yeah, I'd like to see him in these 2 games, because he's got to be able to handle the speed and sort of the grindy nature of a team like the Dallas Stars too. So I think he can do one of the 2. I'm not sure yet. We'll see how he handles the speed of a team like Colorado if he gets in on Saturday.
Yeah, shout out to the chat listing, every Jets 7th defenseman of the last couple of years. I see Lucas Pisa from Nicole. Silas mentioned Derek Forbort. Man, Derek Forbort's a crazy one. And then he became a regular on the best regular season team of all time in the Bruins last year. Joe Morrow, playoff legend. And there, Nelson Noge, Anthony Botetto, former guest on this program. Adam Party. Who else? Derek Meach, Jordy Ben, trade deadline
Jordy Ben,
acquisition.
yeah, trade
So
deadline.
nothing's more fun to me than naming some guys, and I'm all about naming. The Winnipeg Jets have seventh
Just these fringe
defenseman
players, yeah.
plus. That's my Carl Dahlstrom. Showed it to Adam Douglas.
Dahlstrom, yeah, he was a really nice guy, Carl Dahlstrom. I liked him.
He got in there. I'm here for this. And Doug Henderson says, "What about Perfetti?" And I was just about to ask you about. Oh, Keaton Ellerby. That was the one. Matthew Jans says Keaton Ellerby.
Yeah.
Thank you. I couldn't think of Jay Harrison, Chris. We could go on and on. This is an endless topic, which believe me, I have all the time for. But Cole Perfetti, I mean, by numbers, he's had a great season. 36 points in 70 games.
Yeah.
He's setting career highs. Almost got 20 goals. You look at his on-ice numbers, his on-ice goal differential, very good. But it seems like he can't stay in the lineup, and he's not going to be in line one. Is there anything this guy can do to get in, or like what do you make of the season? I mean, he started off really well, had a 20-game stretch, and he's played well, but he seems to be the odd man out right now.
He's your 13th forward heading into the playoffs, right? Like, I mean, I think he's probably the first guy that comes in, but it depends, right? Like if you have a top six injury, I think Cole Perfetti comes in. If you don't have a top six injury, I think you'd probably see a guy like David Gustafson come in instead. And I think this goes to show that I think they're fine with him in a pinch on the second line. And we saw that because Toffoli was out and then obviously Niederreiter's out. But they don't view him as a fourth liner, and it didn't work on the fourth line when he was there. And you look at the way that the fourth line's playing now with IFL and Mestikov and Barron, and that's exactly what you want to see. Like that's a good fourth line right now. They've played really well together, generating goals, playing a lot of defensive zone or offensive zone hockey. He's not going to play on the third line because he's not a shutdown player in that sense. And, everybody's healthy in the top six now, right? So he's not playing there, as we can see. And so I think he ends up becoming your 13th or 14th defenseman, but I think he becomes the seventh the seventh forward for your top six heading into the playoffs. And I think that may or may not change depending how the playoffs go, but I don't know who's he playing for in the top six right now. Because you're not sitting Connor, you're not sitting Scheifele, you're not sitting Velarde, you're not sitting Ehlers or Monahan or Toffoli. And so he doesn't have a role right now in the top six. And the way that they've constructed this bottom six, it's a big, heavy line on that third line. Well, Cole Perfetti is not big or heavy. And the fourth line is very much an energy line. And I think he can play there. But I think they would rather have David Gustafson doing that job because ultimately you want that line to be able to play defense and do a good job of that. And so I just think it's not Perfetti's time. This is part of the growing process and becoming an NHLer. And we've seen this with other guys across the league. Cole Perfetti's not immune to any of these things. I think he had a really good start to the season, as you said. I mean, it was really good. He was on a really good pace of game, but it really dropped off there. Was it December, maybe? End of December, that sort of thing, where it really dropped off there for him. And from there, it's been a hard time to get him back. I thought he did really well in a couple of the games when he came back in. But his last game wasn't good. And we saw that because Bonus benched him in the third there. And at the end of the day, this is going to be part of it. I think Cole understands the situation that he's in. It's not an easy one to be in. But, good players learn from these sorts of things. And I think he's going to learn from it, right? And I think there'll be time, the Jets go deep in the playoffs. Cole Perfetti's playing at some point because you just don't get through a playoffs unscathed, right? So I assume he plays at some point, but I think he's on the outside looking in, heading into April 20th or whenever the Jets start there.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how he factors in. You think the guy who can score like that for a team during their slump, nobody was scoring. You weren't getting it from the top lines. I mean, the third line, they're a shutdown line. They're not a scoring line. Like they have two scoring lines and two kind of shutdown lines. And if, your top lines aren't scoring, which they weren't during the losing streak, you're not really getting any goals from anywhere, which is why they were losing. So we'll see if they can continue. I mean, it's funny, they're on a 4-game win streak, even if that last game didn't look like a team that was on that won. Was on a 4-game win streak.
As Bonus pointed out this morning, they have 102 points, right? Like, I mean, that's no small feat in this league to have 102 points. Like, I mean, he's right on that. It's just they're on the wrong side of all the points that they made so far, right? Like, I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, I don't think everybody's kind of crapping on this team right now. But I think if you zoom out a little bit, you just want this team to be playing a little bit better heading into the playoffs. And that said, there are teams that are faltering into the playoffs. Look at Vegas. Florida's had a tough go at it in a while, right? Like, there's been some teams that are up there that haven't played their best hockey. But, I think everybody in this chat is concerned with the Jets. And, I think a lot of people see that this game is tailed off a little bit over the last couple months. And so, they've played better hockey over the last 4 games, Nashville notwithstanding. I thought the 3 games before that, they played for some pretty good hockey. But, like I said, we said earlier, the big test comes tonight and then again on Saturday. And those are the games that this team needs to compete in. Bonus said this morning, he's not overly concerned if they win or lose these games as more as he's concerned that they play the right way. And if they play a good competitive hockey game, come out on the wrong side of a 2-1 loss, I think he can live with that if they play a solid game. I think, you get brownie points if you pull off the victory. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, and you mentioned how many points the Jets have this year, and I do think we need to applaud them. I mean, their road record, 23, 13, and 3, 5th in the NHL on road wins. And, I mean, any additional win, franchise record for road wins, passing the 22 from 18-19. I didn't mention that we're still on Jennings' watch. The Jets do have a 2-goal lead on Florida. Yeah. They have 1 game in hand. Florida does play
tonight too, right?
It is Brossois
tonight, so yeah.
Yeah, but Brossois, I don't know if you care about player versus team numbers. Brossois 2-0-1, 190 GAA and 944 save percentage in 3 games against Dallas. And how about this? In the last 5 games against Dallas, Scott, the Jets 1 for 16 on the power play. Not great, but the power play, okay. Without Gabe Vilardi, 17%, and with Vilardi in the lineup, 19.7%. And I don't know a guy, I said this yesterday, could run the power play through beside the net, but Gabe Vilardi, he's awesome and scored an awesome goal.
What a goal.
What awesome goal. Highlight as an all-timer from not too many through the legs goals in Jets 2.0 history.
Like, to me, that was, and I tweeted out, like, that was a goal, one of the goals of the year in the NFL this year, because of how smooth it was. It wasn't like he just got it, pulled it through, and it was top shelf and down, and nobody was any the wiser, right? Like, I mean, you're sitting there watching, you're like, did that just go in? Did he just do that? Like, your mind couldn't keep up with it in the same, as fast as that happened. And that goal was stunning to me. And I'm not just saying that because, this is a Jets show and people are going to like hearing that. Like, I watched that goal several times. I'm like, it's as unlikely goal as you can score. It is hard. It's so hard to do that, and so hard to beat an NHL goaltender in that tight and put it up over him. Like, I mean, it was perfect placement of that shot, and that's a goal that I think it's got to be in the running for one of the goals of the year. It won't win goal of the year, I don't think, because there's been some other ones, but I think that one's got to be up there. It's got to be in the top 5 for sure, if not the top 3.
Yeah, there's been some Michigan, some McDavid doing McDavid things, and McKinnon skating past everyone. So there's been a lot of good, but that was certainly one of them. Moving on, one more. Rutger McGroarty in the Frozen Four starts. He's in the late game, so same time as the Jets, and I'll be talking more NCAA hockey with Kevin Westgarth coming up, former NHLer. But you chatted with Rutger last week. What do you take away from that conversation? I read it at the Winnipeg Sun, and Does he turn pro after this?
He wouldn't
That's a real
tell me.
question.
He wouldn't tell me.
Did he tell you?
No, he wouldn't tell me. If you would have known by now if he would have told me. I took two things away from that conversation. One, the Jets have done right by him by leaving him alone for a lot of this. Michigan wasn't expected to be where they are. They weren't one of the top ranked teams heading into all this, and they lost. They lost the Big Ten championship, but they were good enough to get into the regionals, and avenge that loss to Michigan State to get themselves into the Frozen Four. Rutgers had a hell of a year. If you've been paying attention, if anybody's been paying attention to his year, he was in a hospital bed in mid-November after taking a hit against Penn State. They weren't sure if he would be able to play in the World Juniors, and literally they were a month out at that point. And there was a time where he didn't know, like he had a pretty bad. It didn't end up being a back injury, but he busted a rib and had a punctured lung, and they weren't sure he'd be able to play even in the World Juniors, and it kind of curtailed his season a little bit. But he got to the World Juniors, captained the team, and captained Team USA to a gold medal. Now he's helping lead the Michigan Wolverines to the Frozen Four for the third time, and he wasn't on the team for all three of those years, but for the third time in the last 3 years. I mean, this is a Michigan team that's pretty good. Rutgers basically told me this is their last chance at it. This is their year because they're going to lose some guys next year. And I think that goes to answer your question, whether or not he's going to turn pro or not. I think that team's going to experience some significant turnover this year. And so at that point, you're like, well, maybe it is time to make the move to the NHL. And he was very, appreciative of the Jets for what they've done for him during this. Kevin Cheveldayoff was down there for the regional final. I think it was in Maryland Heights, Missouri. For that one. So Chevy was there, and he talked to his agents and talked to Rector there as well. But they're kind of being a little hands off for now until the season is over. It could be tonight or it could be Sunday if they can. I believe they play Boston College tonight. Obviously, no easy games trying to win an NCAA championship, and it's a one and done, right? You don't win, that's it. It's a very cutthroat sort of tournament. But yeah, I think Rutgers had a good season. Obviously it was a little bit, the injury didn't help. But I if I had to wager a guess, maybe a bit of an educated, semi-educated guess, I think he signs with the Jets after this is over. Because I just don't think that Michigan's going to have the same team going forward. And if you're a college guy, this is a sophomore season. If you're heading into your junior year and you're not going to really be a competitive team, and you have the chance to go play in the NHL, or at least in the AHL before that, you probably take that. And I think Rector knows that the NHL is there for him if he wants it. And I wouldn't be shocked if McGarty's with the Jets in maybe as soon as Monday or Tuesday if they win the national championship on Sunday. So we'll see what happens, but I wouldn't be shocked if he signs, just kind of based on conversations with him and people around the league and the team, just where he's kind of going and where his head's at. But everything's focused on tonight's game, and if they can win that, big game on Sunday and for the NCAA title.
Yeah, that's tonight on TSN Plus. So Scott, thanks for coming on, battling through. I see you drinking some tea.
Got some tea. Yeah, I don't drink tea
there
unless I'm sick. Yeah.
What kind?
I don't know. It says
what
love
tea
on
brand?
It.
What got a tea
This
brand?
is some sort of Tetley tea with like immune system something or other. So I've been chugging tea for the last couple days. So
okay, I'll give you my tea.
Good.
Winnipeg Tea Talk. Here it is. I'm
Winnipeg
all in
Tea
on
Talk.
Celestial Seasonings, honey
Have one.
vanilla chamomile. That's right.
Oh,
That's
okay.
my tea. You want me to show you? I got boxes of it here.
Boxes of it. Jeez.
Yeah, got to stock up, man. It's hard
They
to
have,
find.
Celestial Seasonings has another one too. It's like Oh, I know I have it in the drawer. It's like some weird thing. It's pretty good though. I like their teas, but I like my tea to be a little more tart. I don't know if that one's tart or sweet. I like a tart sort of tea. So I usually go for something that's like lemon or like a blueberry pomegranate's pretty good. I like that. So, but yeah.
Yeah, I also like a Bengal Spice. It's got a
That's
tiger
the
on the
one.
box.
That's the one. That's what
That's the
Bengal
one.
Spice. That one is really good.
That's a winner right there. It's got a tiger on the box, so you know that's really
you can't
good.
go wrong, right? Yeah. Exactly.
Here, it's real tiger spice. That's not just a name. Here it is.
Literally, there it is.
Yeah, that comes straight from the tiger.
It's
all right,
just
Scott.
the dander from the tiger that they put
I don't
into
want
the tea bag.
Yeah, I don't want to ruin your voice any more than I already have. So have some more.
Good.
Have some more tea there.
Yeah,
and
we'll
I'll
do.
talk to you. Hustler will be in the chair next week. I'm happy to film today. He's in transit on his way home
I'm
from
sure
Nashville.
he hasn't slept in like 4 days or however long he's been there too. So you don't really sleep in Nashville if you've ever been there. If anybody's in the chat's been to Nashville, it doesn't matter if it's a Sunday night or a Friday night. You ain't going to bed. So maybe it was just me, but everybody that we were with on that one of these Jets trips that we did, nobody went to sleep. It's a rough morning the next day.
We were there for the draft. It was all work. We were in bed, no joke, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock after working all day. Me and Hustler. I was shocked. I thought I'm going to Nashville. This was in June. I was like, I'm going to Nashville with Hustler. Like, I don't know if we'll be able to work. Like, we were working, going to bed I went to bed earlier in Nashville than I did do at home. I don't know about that.
Enough of that liquid courage in you then to stay up the whole night. So
everyone was talking about Tootsie's. We never went. So another time.
I mean, there's so many places there. I mean, I was there. I was literally there when Kid Rock got kicked out of his own bar. That was the best. It was on TMZ the next day. I got a selfie with Kid Rock. Not even a real selfie, right? It was. I like literally took the picture of it as he's getting escorted out by security from his own bar after he went on a let's just call it a racist rant against Oprah as he was hammered. You can find it on TMZ. It was absolutely wild. And yeah, I mean that's a tough one. That's a tough one. That one. So yeah.
All right, anyway. Scotty. Anyways, we've gone off topic enough. Tea and Nashville.
That's right.
Get some rest. I'll see you later.
Will do. Yep. Appreciate it, guys.
There he is, Scott Billeck, Winnipeg Sun. He's on X, formerly known as Twitter. Love saying that. It's not going to get old. At Scott Billeck. All right, here's Hustler, and I'll be back with Kevin Westgarth, the former NHLer. Here's Hustler.
And as we get ready for the playoffs and the playoff excitement increases, do not forget, Winnipeg Jet fans, that you can get priority access and count yourself in for the entire 2024 playoffs right now by putting down a deposit on season tickets or ticket packages for the upcoming 2024-2025 season. Head on over to winnipegjets.com/deposit. Full list of the benefits of being a season ticket member or ticket package holder for the upcoming seasons there, map and pricing and more. And if you do it now, you will be in the same seat for all of the whiteouts down at Canada Life Centre, hopefully for a long and very fun playoff run for the Winnipeg Jets. Again, right now, the We're All In campaign continues. It's winnipegjets.com/deposit for more on that. And while speaking of the playoffs, probably a trip down to Royal Sports is going to be necessary as everyone gets their whites ready for the Winnipeg Jets and whoever they're playing come April. There is simply no better sports store anywhere than Royal Sports. And if you're a Winnipeg Jet fan, thousands of pieces of Jets merchandise, whites and otherwise, all of the jerseys, and still plenty of time to get your jersey customized with your favorite player, name, number, just in time for the postseason. So much more than just Jets merch as well, though, at Royal. Tons of Bomber gear, Major League Baseball, with Jays starting up right now, NFL and more. The biggest hockey section in town, all of the spring sports loading in by the day, and tons of cool stuff on the Kings skate, snow, and surf side. Pop by and see it for yourself. Royal Sports, 750 Pembina Highway, and make sure to give them a follow on Instagram at Royal Sports Pembina for the latest merchandise drops and sale information. And speaking of those playoffs, I mean, if you're not in the building or the team is on the road, you know the best place to get together with your gang to watch the big game is your local Boston Pizza. All the Jets games on the big screen with big sound, not to mention those ice-cold schooners, world-famous BP wings, gourmet pizzas, and some great new treats on the BP appetizer menu. There's simply nothing like getting together at your local BP. And if you are staying at home, though, you can get the great taste of Boston Pizza by ordering online at bostonpizza.com.
You train day in and day out, learning new techniques, approaching new concepts, and living out the thrill of achieving your goals. Building a craft beer is no different. While you spend your hours on the ice, we spend ours here, brewing our trademark beer. Again, again, and again. Here's to pushing the status quo and challenging ourselves to build something memorable. 1919 by Little Brown Jug.
Yes, 1919. Love Little Brown Jug's offerings. I'm a big fan of the Golden, Honey Golden. I should probably know the name, but they have a great selection there at Little Brown Jug. Well, it's the NCAA Frozen Four tonight. It's on TSN Plus. So if you pay for their stations, that's not enough. You got to get the add-on on the app. If you got Roku, Fire, one of your apps there built into the TV, whatever it is, it's on there. 4 o'clock, Denver, Boston University, and then the main event for Jets fans, Boston College against Michigan. I caught up earlier this week with current VP of Hockey Development with the NHL, Kevin Westgarth. He's a veteran of 169 NHL games in 5 seasons, played for LA, Carolina, and Calgary. And he got his name on the 2012 Stanley Cup with the LA Kings. And he also spent 4 years at Princeton before signing as a college free agent. So I chatted with Kevin about the growth of NCAA hockey and his, this year's Frozen Four and his experience playing with Princeton. Here's my conversation from earlier this week. Kevin, how's it going today?
Going pretty well. Thank you very much. How about yourself? How's it in Winnipeg today?
Yeah, it's going great. We're ramping up for the Stanley Cup playoffs here. A lot of excitement for the whiteout, but also a lot of excitement here for the Frozen Four. It gets going here on Thursday at the XL Energy Center in St. Paul. We got Denver versus Boston University and Michigan versus Boston College. As I feel like the Frozen Four has just been gaining in popularity over the last while.
Yeah, I think certainly being able to get hockey on kind of the college sports platform in the States down here is incredible because it just taps into a passion with the schools and all that really does, just give more access and exposure to our game. And certainly people are loving watching the number of NHLers that are coming from the college ranks these days. And, path I was fortunate enough to take. So it is very, very exciting to have some kind of blue blood like the old school big time programs, and actually Denver, kind of the modern blue blood who've won a bunch lately. This should be a heck of a weekend.
Yeah, one of the players we'll be seeing at the Frozen Four is a projected first overall pick, Macklin Celebrini, and he's among the 23 Canadians on the Frozen Four rosters. What makes Celebrini, projected first overall? What can we see from him on Boston University this weekend?
Yeah, the Celebrini's been incredibly just knocking it out of the park this year. He's playing as a true 17-year-old, which is very rare to be. I think he's still 17, which is incredible to see the success that he's having. I think not unlike some of the other guys that we've been seeing come to the league recently, from Connor Bedard, obviously. Think back to Shane Wright. He does have just incredible vision, really does everything quite well, and the speed and just the talent. I mean, the speed anymore across the game is just impressive to see, and I think we'll see a lot of that this weekend again with all these teams. BU will be a fun one to watch.
Yeah, you mentioned you went through the NCAA path as well. That was with Princeton, and we're seeing more and more Canadians choosing the NCAA route. But why was that an attractive option for you, when you were choosing your development path?
Yeah, the college path always kind of made sense to me, kind of from a personal standpoint. University and college was always part of my kind of family. Both my parents are veterinarians, so doctors, so got to go to school for a long time, and that was always a priority in our household. But more to the point, I wasn't very good at 14, 15, 16, so was able to kind of take the longer path for which allowed me just a lot more time to develop, work on my game in college, sort of knowing that I'd have to use the more physical sides of the game to get my foot in the door. So it really was the perfect pathway for me, and obviously to add a Princeton degree to it, and just the kids that I got to play with and got to meet my wife too, which was a nice bonus. It all worked extremely well for my pathway. The major junior system is still ticking on all cylinders, and it's great to see the number of high quality players that come out of that, and also now the educational opportunities that they're kind of guaranteed through that. But again, it's a lot of fun to see just how good these kids are these days.
Yeah, 51 drafted players in the Frozen Four this week, and the most since 2016-17. You feel like the path, choosing NCAA as your development path for a drafted player, viewed differently than maybe when you were choosing 15 to 20 years ago?
Yeah, and thanks for pointing that out. That is a long time ago. But I'd say that there's been, certainly seeing some exceptional players come through. And I mean, more recently going back a little bit with kind of Jonathan Taves, Dylan Larkin, who's now the old guy, but Cale Makar came out of college. And you do get to see some of these high-end talents bring their game through college to the NHL. I think it's been a pretty natural, and especially if you look back 30 plus years, the growth has been pretty incredible to see. And again, I think for certain guys, it is an exceptional pathway. And as I mentioned, for me, obviously it checked all my boxes. So.
Yeah, going back to the current weekend, we're very excited to hear about Rutger McGroarty, 2022 first-round pick with the Jets. He'll be with the Michigan Wolverines. What have you seen from Rutger this season with Michigan?
I mean, again, another seemingly complete player. Again, my judgment is I'm kind of tend to be impressed again by most of the way these kids play, but he's just been piling up the points, and kind of had an injury scare earlier in the season, just fell into the boards oddly, but was able to come back and has just been a huge contributor as a sophomore for Michigan. I think that'll go a long way, and to play BC. I mean, we've got again just some phenomenal competition coming up.
Yeah, and a lot of talk here about Rutger. He's finishing his second year at Michigan. Big decision. How big of or how difficult of a decision is it going to be for a guy like him to return to college after the season or decide to turn pro?
Yeah, I think, again, there's so many personal nuances between, what he's going through, what his experience has been. Certainly the team opportunities with the Jets will play a role in that, I'm sure. It is, if he leaves after this year, I think that's an amazing couple of years he was able to spend at Michigan. And we've actually seen that it is actually well over 70% of players end up playing 3+ years. Certainly when we're seeing some of the first rounders, they tend to, like to accelerate and take the shortcut a little quicker to the NHL, which you can certainly understand if you can do it. So, I'm sure between him, his family, his agent, and Jets brass will figure out the right spot for Rutger next year to make sure that he's just developing and continue to try to get to that top full of his potential.
Yeah, and you mentioned 70% of players playing 3+ years. You were one of those 70, completing 4 with Princeton, then became an undrafted college free agent. We've seen a number of players complete their 4 years and then come with the signed in the NHL. We, Brandon Tanev here, maybe the most famous, or with the Moose right now, Parker Ford last season, and Dylan Anhorn just signed from St. Cloud State. What was that process like for you, becoming a free agent after college? And I mean, did you feel like you were more prepared for the pro experience after finishing your 4 years?
Yeah, I think there's occasionally not much replacing just age and development and becoming a man. So certainly coming out at 23 years old versus trying to make it 18, 19 again was perfect for me, and kind of the way that I played the game. Again, nobody was breaking down the door my freshman or sophomore year, so that made it significantly easier. But once I thought I might have a sniff at playing in the NHL, it did allow for, again, just that preparation and the focus. And my coach at Princeton, who has now been at Penn State for the last dozen years, I think Guy Godowski was integral in kind of making basically showing me and kind of helping me understand like what that next level would be like. And then to join the Kings organization, as a free agent, but able to get right into their organization in Manchester with the Monarchs at the time. And then, go to training camp for a couple of years and finally work my way up to the big squad. It all, again, just dialed in really the amount and the kind of the professionalism that is needed to make that jump.
And then we'll finish it off back to this year. I don't know, do you have a bracket for the Frozen Four? Any big picks? Again, starting Thursday, Denver versus Boston and Michigan versus Boston College.
No, I will take the, nobody pays me to prognosticate. I guarantee some good games, and I won't probably get 3 wrong answers. So I'll just say that I think it's going to be a heck of a weekend of hockey.
Perfect. Kevin, thanks so much for taking the time from your busy day to join us here on Winnipeg Sports Talk. Appreciate it.
Much appreciated. So TSN Plus at 4 Central on Thursday. Starts with Denver BU.
Perfect. We'll be tuned in. Thanks again. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Mike. Take it easy.
All right, there it is. My conversation from earlier this week with Kevin Westgarth. It was pretty cool to talk to him. I remember him with the Kings in 2012. You noticed it was from earlier this week. I did a quick wardrobe change for those of us on YouTube. And hey, if you're still here on YouTube, thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, and leave a comment after if you're enjoying the show so far. Got thoughts on the Jets lines. Well, let's bring him back in. He's been waiting in the wings to come in. Connor, what's been going on over there? How are you doing?
Doing good. Keeping tabs on, all the news of the day. Posted a clip of me yapping about the top line, and good to go. Back on the show.
Before we get back into that, I do want to give a shout out to the Bombers. Should mention, announced today an operating profit, $5.7 million of 2023. Revenue up to $50.5 million, 11.2% increase. Gate receipt, record high, $15.1 million. That's up 9.6%. Number of sellouts last year. Game day merchandise concessions, an all-time high, $11.5 million. That's a $1.1 million jump, 10.5% increase. Unfortunately, Valor Football, I'm curious what happens with them this season. $1.25 million loss. And the Sea Bears announced some of their draft picks today, selecting Simon Hildebrandt, John Moranin in the first and third round. So getting pumped for Sea Bears season. They did have the big announcement that the championship will be here 2025. Training camp begins next month and the regular season kicks off. But Connor, we are winding it down, and a lot of talk about the NHL playoffs and this playoff format. Where do you stand on this? Are you a fan of the current setup, or do changes need to be made?
I think it seems like the majority of people want to go back to the 1 through 8, like take out the whole divisional thing where 2 and 3 play against one another. I'm in that group of people that want to see it go back to 1 versus 8. I don't know, like playing against division rivals is cool, and generating rivalries through that is a good idea. But I think you naturally do that if teams play against each other one way or another. Like if the Oilers and Kings play again in the first round this year and the Oilers win again, it's just going to be like watching a movie that you like. You don't love the movie, but you like it, and you're just watching it over and over again. It's like, wow, the Oilers beat the Kings in the playoffs again. Like, is this really generating a rivalry if one team is just dominating it? And then that's not even like the good argument around this. The good argument is that teams in the East, like Carolina, is going to be playing whoever the third seed is in the Metro, who should really be a second wildcard team. And Boston's going to have to play Tampa when they really should be playing one of those two mediocre teams. Like it throws everything out of whack. And yes, it does generate rivalries. And that is like a thing that the NHL should be trying to do. But I'm more in the camp of just let it naturally happen. Let teams face whoever they face in the playoffs, and stop making us watch the mediocrity of the Oilers beating the Kings every year. Like, it's a great series, but like, we just know how it's going to end, and the Leafs are going to lose to the Bruins or the Panthers or whoever. Like, it's just, I don't know. I don't know if that might be a hot take. What do you think? Do you think they should switch it up?
A lot of talk. I'll give you my. I think they should for sure switch it. I don't know why they went to this format in the first place. You know how many people we have in here, maybe casual hockey fans, that don't understand even how the playoff matchups are made? Like, what is this wild card? It doesn't make sense. Teams that are in good divisions get punished. And you could be the second best team in the league and have to play the third best team in the league because you're in a stacked division. So it's silly.
And Jets fans should absolutely care about that, because you're in a stacked division like Dallas and Colorado. This is a stacked division that the Jets are a part of. And I'm sure they'd be playing, like, the West is so stacked that they'd be playing a good opponent anyways. I'm not sure what it would actually look like if it was 1 versus 8, who the Jets would mathematically be playing right now. But you're sort of the losers in this if you're the Jets, is that your division is so stacked. You have Dallas, you have Colorado, and then you're going to have to play one of them every single year until they're bad. And I got bad news, but Dallas is going to be good for a long time, and Colorado's got Nathan McKinnon and Kel McCarr for a long time. So, yeah, the Jets might become the Kings of this division, where they just run into the Oilers or run into the Avs every year, or Dallas, and just lose, because that's the format, and the matchups are never going to change.
Yeah, well, we'll see what happens if they do make any changes. There was reports that with the Coyotes moving the reports that they may move to Salt Lake, they're going to have to change the divisions. It was Adrian Dater who put out, could we see Salt Lake and Colorado move to the Pacific Division because they're, I guess, U.S. teams, and have them closer to Seattle, Vegas, L.A., and have Alberta teams, Edmonton, Calgary, move to the Central. You know what else I'll say about this? I'll give you my hot take on divisions. Get rid of them. We don't need them. They're useless. Wow. What's the point of them? The Jets play some of the teams in their division 3 times. You know how many times they play teams out of their division in the same conference? 3 times. There's no point. You're making artificial division. You would want to reward the best teams. Just have play in conference. I don't think you need divisions anymore. They're irrelevant when you're not, if you're going to have a schedule where you play teams in your division 3 times and play teams in your conference out of your division 3 times. Why do we need to group by division? You don't. Go to 1 versus 8. Get rid of divisions. That is my. I never really thought that, but you don't need them. You don't need them. They're dumb.
Yeah. Here's another one that I see floated out, which I don't really agree with. But what if, in your proposition, you take out divisions, you also take out conferences, and the playoffs are just 1 through 16 across the entire league?
Yeah.
Are you? No, not on that. No.
I think that's a great idea, but they don't want to do that for travel. I think the Eastern teams are all too close together. Right. They don't want to go. They don't want to go west. I think you can keep it conferences. But look, I'm not in charge of the league, but I wonder if they take a look, because I think the players are kind of confused about this playoff format too. It doesn't make any sense. Rivalries, they just get created. You can't say, yeah, we're going to create rivalries. And I don't think the teams play each other enough in the division. Again, the Jets play some teams in their division 4 times and others 3 times. So we'll see if there is. Yeah.
One more thing. On playoffs expansion. What are your thoughts on that? Like not maybe let's just throw this out there, like the NBA's play-in, where the bottom 2 wildcard teams, so Nashville and Vegas in the West, would play a single elimination game, or the NBA does it differently where the bottom seeded team has to basically win twice, but the higher seeded team only has to win once to win that spot in. It adds an extra playoff game. I think the 2 teams outside looking in right now are St. Louis and Minnesota, or St. Louis and Calgary. But like those teams would theoretically get a playoff game and a play-in series. That's something that's been the majority. I put a poll out actually. The majority, I think 75% of people were against a play-in, which I don't know. I'm definitely more on the fence of a play-in. I do think the playoff format itself has to change, but a play-in I think is a different conversation. What do you think of like the NHL adopting that?
Yeah, that's a big topic. You see every league expanding in playoffs, NFL,
right.
NBA, Major League Baseball. I like it the way it is. I think some of these teams in the East that are battling it, they're not very good. They don't deserve to be in the playoffs. So, and I think NFL has certainly watered down the playoffs too. And I think baseball maybe it was too exclusive before, but I guess for the league, if they want some free extra money, have the play-in game, sell it to some streaming company, and make everyone pay extra to watch it. They could certainly do that, but I like it the way it is. Maybe if they add more teams, you add more playoff spots. If there is, rumored expansion to Atlanta and maybe Arizona, Houston, wherever, anywhere but Quebec City, seemingly. So we'll wait and see on adding the playoffs. But that's our discussion as we head in to the playoffs. I had to get that. A lot of people are talking about it. I know Pierre LeBrun's also beating the drum. Start the season earlier and make sure it ends May 31, which I'm kind of with Pierre on that.
Start it earlier. I don't know why we wait till mid-October and then go into June. I think they could start it at the end of September or start of October and have it end by May 31st, and that would be great. And then just in time for Bomber season for here in Winnipeg, because the Bombers home opener is like June 7th or something. Or maybe so it'd be perfect for here. Lines up perfectly.
Yeah, something like that. And here, as we wind it down, we got to do our golf report. Shout out to Breezy Bend Golf and Country Club. The Masters. I see everyone on our chat so pumped for Tiger Woods teeing off. But let's look at the leaderboard right now. Sorry, podcast listeners, this is going to be changed. But Bryson DeChambeau leading right now at 7 under. Didn't have him on my DraftKings lineup. Danny Willett, former champion, he's finished. He's 4 under in second. Top Canadian Corey Connors. He always seems to perform well at the Masters. He's 2 under. Scotty Scheffler, favorite. He's 2 under after 9. I don't know. Did you have a pick coming in? I did a DraftKings lineup. I'm terrible at golf DraftKings, but it's the Masters. It's majors. I get suckered in.
Yeah. Huss's why not question of the day yesterday was who your pick was for the Masters. I said Rory McIlroy, just for the story, the narrative. That'd be cool to see. But I think Scotty Scheffler is such a big favorite that it's hard to pick against him. DeChambeau being, what did you say, 7 under is really
7 under.
That's wow. I mean, he is a high variance golfer, let's just say, because he'll drive the ball like 400 yards and then 3 putt for par. That like a lot of people will describe their own golf game. But he's like the ultimate guy for doing that, just over driving the green, and then the short game just doesn't make up for it. But maybe he'll be 7 under today and then 7 over tomorrow is basically what I'm saying with DeChambeau. So I don't know. That's an interesting story to follow that he's 7 under today, but Scheffler and McIlroy are up there for me.
McIlroy, I took him. I didn't take Scotty Scheffler on my lineup. Yeah. I got McIlroy's. He's even through 9, and we'll see what happens with him. We'll be tuning into the Masters all weekend. But it's on TSN I don't know. The Masters app apparently very good.
According to Huss, best thing on the internet.
Yeah, I don't know about that, but it can be very good. I think the best thing on the internet is this channel, is YouTube, and this channel here. Right, exactly.
Yes.
Line it up with the Coolbet line. So many NHL games tonight. Basically a playoff game here. Red Wings, Penguins. At least the closest thing before the playoffs. Penguins -161 favorites against the Red Wings. I think they're going to get in. The Panthers, huge favorites against Columbus. We're keeping an eye on that because of the Jennings watch. But we'll go down to Jets, Stars. The Jets, underdogs in Dallas. Not a surprise. Dallas, the best team in the Central. Stars -181 favorites. Jets +152. You want to look at some goal-scoring props. Kyle Connor, he's the Stars killer, according to Gavin Spittle. In Dallas, he's the best Jet with the best odds to score, +195. Mark Scheifele +230. Gabe Vilardi +255. Maybe think Nikolai Ehlers +305 or Monahan. That's not bad. Monahan +315. Cole Perfetti, he's listed here. Probably not going to play. So
don't do that. Yeah.
Not in. Don't bet him. Or they would probably just refund you.
Yeah, they would. Yeah.
But those are the picks. I don't know if you've got a play or a pick tonight who you've got your eye on in this game or any other game around the league.
Yeah, I was looking. I mean, that playoff game is interesting, or almost playoff game between the Penguins and Red Wings. I was looking here. Nikita Kucherov to get over 1.5 points is -111. Ottawa has a very bad penalty kill. I talked earlier about how dynamite Nikita Kucherov is on the power play. So I could see, and he's leading the Art Ross race. So I could see him having a 3-4 point night, coming in on that power play, getting a few goals or assists there. That's one that I was looking at. And another interesting thing, this doesn't have to do with Coolbet necessarily, but if the Stars win tonight, they're locked into first in the Central. And the Jets and Avs are locked into the 2-3 spot. So it would be official. I mean, it basically is official, but it would be officially official that the Jets and Avs would be playing each other in the first round if the Stars win tonight.
Wow. Get ready for Jets, Avs.
You can get ready for it anyways, but it'd be official.
Avs in action?
Yeah.
Are they playing right now?
Avs are not. They actually had 3 days off before the game coming up on Saturday, or 4 days off maybe. They don't play tonight, tomorrow, and then Saturday. Obviously, they play the Jets, but they're coming in rested.
All right, there it is. And some other games. How do the Flyers bounce back after getting smoked in Montreal? Their playoff dreams pretty much gone. Capitals look to keep it alive against Buffalo. They're +114 favorites on the road. The Leafs -200 against the Devils. Devils just announced Jack Hughes. He's done the rest of the year. The Islanders -233 at home to Montreal. Sharks, Kraken -242 favorites, and Kings, Flames, Kings -193. And then a couple games tomorrow on the schedule. Do they have any more Masters, Futures? They got live odds. That's kind of cool. Scotty Scheffler still. Bryson up to +500.
Whoa.
Rory McIlroy +4. So maybe you could get some decent live odds here on this. That's kind of cool. I'm not a big, futures live odds guy, but that could be fun. Anyway, that's it. That was a great one, Connor. You helped me hold it down. We survived. The show's still here, and nobody left. Shout out to all 358 in chat. Again, thumbs up, subscribe, and if you didn't know, we're giving away tickets to the Moose this weekend and AEW, WinnipegSportsTalk.com/contest. Connor, any other last words as we go? Prediction for tonight's game?
I don't think you want my prediction, Remo.
Don't want your prediction.
It's not something that chat is going to be happy with here.
Well, the Jets are 0-3 against Dallas. Look. Just when you think it's not going their way, they seem to turn it around. Wouldn't surprise me if the Jets brought it tonight. They're not going winless against Dallas this year. That would be tough, but we'll see what happens. Appreciate Appreciate everyone in chat. Shout out to Nicole J, Julian, Mary Jane, Phyllis, T.U. Will, Jay Mims, Matt Hyman, Rain, Comet. Who else? I need to say I saw Luca in there. Connor, I don't know if that's I think all your relatives have invaded the chat today.
Yeah, so, it's a Hrabchak takeover.
Hrabchak. Sure. Anyways, thanks, Connor. Appreciate it. There it is. There's Connor done such a great job here. And if you missed it, check out Jets This Week on our YouTube channel. Does a great job recapping all the Jets events. And if you missed it, Colby Barlow, Jets first round pick from this past draft, 2023, joined Hustler. That's a separate video here on our channel as well. Again, if you want to keep up to date with everything we put out, a newsletter with the top content of the week. Connor helps me out with that. WinnipegSportsTalk.com. Scroll to the bottom, or any relevant social media link is in the description for YouTube, for the podcast. So check those out too. Don't just watch it and not look at the description. Anyways, that's it for me. Hustler will be back tomorrow. He's returned to Winnipeg now from Nashville. We'll be in the host chair. We're going to talk tomorrow with Mike McIntyre. He's at the Frozen Four, and Brandon Ruwicki on this Winnipeg Jets game against Dallas. So thanks everyone for coming out. I appreciate everyone who's hung out in chat and listened on the podcast. Bye-bye.
Oh my God! Oh! Shut it down! Let's go home!
Thanks for tuning in to Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube and your favorite podcast feed at winnipegsportstalk.com.